Welcome to On With The Show, where we delve into the intriguing stories that have shaped the world of performing arts. I'm your host, Leo Sullivan. Join me as we head to Texas, 1955, where jazz icons Ella Fitzgerald and Dizzy Gillespie would find themselves in jail after performing to a mixed-race crowd, despite segregation already being abolished. So, without further ado, let's dive into the spotlight and explore the stories behind the curtain. This is On With The Show. It was October 1955 in the American South. The civil rights movement was ramping up. The 1954 Brown versus the Board of Education had seen the US Supreme Court rule unanimously that separate educational facilities were inherently unequal, legally ending racial segregation in public schools. And Claudette Colvin, a 15-year-old black teenager, had refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery, Alabama bus on March 2nd, 1955, 9 months before Rosa Parks. The integration of Houston jazz audiences followed a route of unexpected twists and turns. Ella Fitzgerald, Dizzy Gillespie, John Baptiste Illinois Jacquet, and the rest of their band stepped off the stage after their first half performance in Houston, Texas. Jacquet and Gillespie were playing craps while Ella and her assistant Georgiana Henry were drinking coffee, when 5 officers burst into Ella Fitzgerald's dressing room with guns in their hands. Jazz impresario Norman Granz produced a benefit on July 2nd, 1944, at the Los Angeles Philharmonic Auditorium, playing for an integrated crowd. Norman believed in using jazz as a vehicle for social change, to fight discrimination and segregation. The first Jazz at the Philharmonic followed the Zoot Suit riots in Los Angeles. Occasionally, Jazz at the Philharmonic raised funds to support the NAACP and also to further the cause of anti-lynching legislation. Most venues, especially in the Deep South, would have so-called Jim Crow laws that promoted segregation under the slogan "separate but equal." Concerts would often have to put on 2 separate showings to allow for black and white audiences to see live performances. It would be no surprise to see armed police at concerts, ensuring that ethnic mixing wasn't occurring at music events. Despite segregation rules having been abolished in 1954, Houston remained a segregated city. When the Philharmonic went on tour, Illinois Jacquet told Granz that he would not play for a segregated audience in his hometown of Houston, Texas. "I didn't want to come to my hometown after playing all around the world without doing something," Illinois explained. "I love Houston. I was just fed up with coming to Houston with a mixed cast on stage and playing to a segregated audience. I wanted Houston to see a hell of a concert, and they should see it like they were in Carnegie Hall. I felt if I didn't do anything about the segregation in my hometown, I would regret it. This was the time to do it. Segregation had to come to an end." Norman Granz recalled, "I knew the story of Houston. It was one of the richest, if not the richest city in America in terms of oil. Usually, a city that's very rich is a difficult city to break and change tradition. The people who run things, the rich whites, could come as strong as they wanted. And the police department would, of course, agree with that. Their point is, don't come here. But I wanted to play one southern city where, being a rich city, we had a chance to sell out. And so, Jazz at the Philharmonic, featuring Illinois Jacquet, Dizzy Gillespie, Ella Fitzgerald, Oscar Peterson, Buddy Rich, and others, scheduled their annual tour, stopping in Houston on October 5th, 1955, to play Houston's Music Hall, with the intention for the gig to become the first major concert in Houston with a desegregated audience. When Norman Granz rented the music hall, he added a non-segregation clause to the contract, removed the racial signs denoting white versus black restrooms, and refused to pre-sell tickets in case patrons attempted to section off parts of the venue for whites only. Fearing problems from the audience because of the forced integration, Granz hired 8 Houston Police Department officers as guards. He knew that with Ella Fitzgerald on the bill, he could make some demands of Houstonians. Norman said, "A lot of people never saw Ella, or they may have seen Ella, but not a lot of the musicians. I got to the concert hall early and somebody came up and wanted to change tickets because they were sitting next to a black. And I said, no, you can have your money back, but we're not going to change your seat." The customer took the money. Although no crowd disturbances or violence occurred that evening, for Ella Fitzgerald, her personal assistant Georgiana Henry, Dizzy Gillespie, and Illinois Jacquet, trouble was waiting in the wings. Houston's Vice Squad, headed by Sergeant W.A. Scotton, planned and operated a racially motivated sting mission to arrest the performers. 5 officers in regular clothes obtained backstage access and burst into Ella Fitzgerald's dressing room. Norman Granz heard the commotion, rushed over, and asked what was going on. They told him, "You're under arrest too, because you're managing the gambling." Spotting one detective heading towards Ella's bathroom, Norman moved to block his path, figuring he might be on his way to plant drugs. The officer asked angrily what he was doing, and Norman responded, "I'm just watching you to see whether you try to plant any shit." The officer put the gun to Norman's stomach and said, "I ought to shoot you." To which Norman responded, "Well, if you're gonna shoot me, shoot me." The Vice Squad made their arrests of Dizzy Gillespie, Illinois Jacquet, Ella Fitzgerald, Georgiana Henry, and Norman Granz for gambling. Norman told the manager of the music hall that the second set would have to be cancelled, which would likely cause the crowd to react unfavourably in an already tense situation. The Vice Squad brought the group to the police station, where they were greeted by reporters and photographers, suggesting the operation was planned. Ella later recalled, "When we got there, they had the nerve to ask for an autograph." The police department booked them and made them pay a fine. The performers made it back to play the second set of the show without the audience ever knowing what happened. In 1956, the concert returned and played to an audience of black and white with no police interference.